Hello friends, a very warm welcome to Ansakar. As we have been discussing about different aspects with respect to democracy, so whatever we have discussed in the previous all the lessons above, that a critical overview is being taken here. So let's quickly go through whatever we have discussed till now and try to raise certain points and questions. Please do make your own notes and concepts. That is very very important for the success. So we started by talking about ancient Greece, how Athens pioneered the concept of demos and kratos, that is the direct citizen participation, and we also discussed that how not everybody was allowed to be part of the voting process. Women were excluded, slaves were excluded, and non-citizens were excluded. Then we discussed how in ancient India, even before Mahajanapadas, we had sabha and samitis, which were playing a very important role in deliberation on governance. Lichvi Republic, Vaishali in Bihar, it is cited as one of the world's earliest republics. And another term for that is Ganarajya. We have discussed in our previous lectures. My question to you is that if ancient India had nurtured republican traditions further, would modern democracy would be looking different today? So there are two ways to answer. You believe that India went on to leave those values and those factors in ancient India, which could have helped it to grew republican tradition further? Or do you agree with the fact that republican tradition actually continued since ancient time till today? What is your opinion and answer? Please do write. When we speak of evolution into modern democracy, that is from the direct to representative, because India, for example, is a representative democracy. We discussed about idea of social contract, concept of separation of powers, and even individual rights. These all are modern world concepts, which we will be discussing in details further also. American Revolution, French Revolution, and the idea of constitutionalism and republicanism, where individual rights, where charter for men, where belief in the idea of humanism, belief in the idea of individual freedom was at the core. Belief in the idea that government is for the people and government must be restrained. Government must be, representing masses' will. If people believe so, it must be removed. That means legitimacy of the government comes only through masses. Indian constitution is a blend of Western liberal ideas and indigenous democratic traditions. Can you write two liberal ideas of the West and two indigenous democratic traditions in our constitution? My question to you is that has India's constitution struck the right balance between borrowed ideals and the native traditions? Do you think so? It is a direct high profile UPSC examination question. Coming to the global spread of democracy that also we discussed, there are drivers like decolonization. That means after the Second World War, the process of decolonization spread to Asia and Africa and even Latin America. Second World War and aftermath and even Cold War. So Asia, Africa and Latin America, they embraced democratic constitutions because that is how they went on to take rights in their own hands. Colonizers countries like Belgium or even UK and even France and even in certain ways USA indirectly they went on to take a backseat, but actually somehow colonial tendencies continued. So what are the challenges? Authoritarianism, the democratic governance is collapsing in so many countries in Africa if we see. There is corruption in so many countries in Asia and also in Latin America, and there are deep socio-economic inequalities, especially in South Asia. So, India, it was believed after 1947, the largest democracy, that it will not be able to survive. But we went on to sustain through universal adult franchise despite poverty and illiteracy. This is what we are proud of. That is why my question to you is why did democracy survive in India but collapse in many post colonial nations? Do think, and it will judge your understanding. Similarly, is the concept of procedural democracy, which is focusing upon civil liberties, rule of law, free and fair elections, because these are all part of institutional mechanisms. Legal frameworks are there, checks and balances are there, electoral integrity is being ensured through constitutional norms. For example, Election Commission of India, it is admired for conducting world's largest elections with credibility. With credibility is very important. My question to you is that are free elections enough to guarantee a truly democratic society? If you think that only elections are enough and you can become a truly democratic society, what do you think a truly democratic society is? Similarly, we also discuss substantive democracy with equality, social justice, and minority rights because they are to be derived, they are also directly given in the constitution, but we have to focus and work with the welfare model. Because many democracies in Africa and also in Asia, they succeeded procedurally but failed substantively because they were not able to cut down on inequality and marginalization. For example, Pakistan, a failed state. But India have been able to do miracles. For example, reservation policies or even food subsidies and so forth. They are providing substantive justice to the disadvantaged groups which are part of our mainstream society. My question to you is, does affirmative action like reservation, it is strengthening democracy or creating new divisions? What is your viewpoint? Innovations in democracy also we discussed. For example, citizens' assemblies, we have discussed in details, referendums and participatory and deliberative democracy. You can write one example each. And even digital democracy, which enhances openness. But misinformation, privacy and digital divide are the key things. Not everybody is having access to digital devices. Not everybody is understanding digital literacy. Not everybody is able to understand how far WhatsApp fake messages can spread and create a kind of a disharmony. And it is also the question of data privacy. It can be misused, it can be biased, it can be faked. That is a big problem. My gov platform, digital citizen engagement in policy making, is a very important example. So can digital democracy, my question to you, can bridge the gap between citizens and state? Is digital democracy is the way ahead, or digital democracy is part of the modern times, or will it deepen inequalities? Do write your answer. Global democracy also we discussed. Transnational institutions like United Nations, they influence domestic governance. European Union as a supranational democratic firm. Why supranational? Because so many nations are part of European Union. India's role in UNHRC, that is United Nations Human Rights Council, and WTO. Balancing sovereignty, that means India's rights, India's territorial integrity, India's economic integrity. At the same time, how the world must behave in terms of trade and commerce. How everybody must do fair trade. India has been fighting for it. India fights against the hegemony of China. India fights against hegemony of the Western world. It stands with the developing countries. So my question to you is, should democracy remain a national affair, nothing to do with the world, or it should evolve into a global system of governance? That is what we have to understand. Global system of governance, something like United Nations, something like WTO, something, a global body where every nation comes up but also respects it. That is not the case with UN. That is why UN require reforms. When we speak about strength of democracy, because resilience is very important strength because it adapts to changing context like the way India is doing. It is representing diverse interests like the way middle class, lower class, upper class, plurality and protection of freedoms. India is a wonderful country in that regard. Land of festivals, land of languages, land of literature, land of cultures and adaptability. So peaceful transfer of power since 1950 and till today, an amazing, growing, maturing, and deepening democracy, a true model for the rest of the world in multiculturalism also. So, do you think adaptability is the true secret behind India's democratic survival or even democracy's survival everywhere in the world? Please do think about it. Also, we discussed about challenges and also weaknesses because substantial failures of many countries, including inequality. When Gini coefficient, if you see, then you will find that many countries are actually not reducing poverty like India. Injustices are happening. Many countries are biased towards their minorities. For example, China towards Tibet, Uyghurs, and so forth. Marginalization is there. For example, Ahmadiyas and others in Pakistan and minorities in India's neighboring countries. So there are challenges. Populism, when real things are not done, but propaganda is being spread. Authoritarianism, nobody is ready to give up power. Nobody is ready to give up the seat of governance so that people can choose a legitimate ruler. They want to somehow stick to the power. And global crisis of geopolitical crisis in Middle East or even Ukraine-Russian war, or for that matter what is happening in Africa, and even climate change and global trade practices and tariff war by the US. Now, in Indian context, If there had been debates on electoral bonds and money power, testing transparency and fairness, then government went on to take further steps and even Supreme Court went on to provide a way forward. Do that case study from Wikipedia and otherwise also. Then what was the case study of Indian electoral bonds and how it went on to change? Is democracy failing because of its flaws or because citizens demand too much from it? Do you agree? Is it failing? So you have to critically analyze. So I would like to thank you for understanding and also revising all the lectures we have done till now so that we can take up further concepts and provide good amount of understanding for it, because we do not believe there is any shortcut to success. Success comes to those who love it, those who remain uh, happy with that, those who are in a natural state of mind, and definitely success comes, and their contribution to state, nation, and to the family is always rewarded. Thank you very much.